Up. Okay, so welcome to everybody. Thank you for being so early in the suburbs of Paris. I know it's hard. It was also hard for me to come, so thanks a lot. So we're going to talk today about a new exciting service on Azure, which is called Azure Spring Cloud Service. So we're going to talk about microservices because we are at Fox Days Microservice, but we will talk specifically about Spring Boot microservices on Azure. This isn't something from a developer's perspective which is very specific to Azure. We're just going to do normal Spring Boot microservices, but then we will see how easy it is to deploy them on Azure thanks to this new managed service. Let me first just introduce myself. So I am Julien Dubois. I work for Microsoft. I work for Azure, of course. And you can follow me on Twitter on @JulienDubois. And I love to have Twitter messages and answer them. So don't hesitate to contact me on Twitter if you have feedback. What we are going to do today is first a little presentation just to show what Azure Spring Cloud is about. And then we will do live coding and live deploying because I hope the network will be good with us. So you can see Azure Spring Cloud for real. So let me just start with like about 10 slides about the service. Oh, sorry. Yeah, but I don't see it on my screen, so that's really annoying. Okay. Yeah, new stuff. I don't know. That's new. Okay, I agree. Come on. The new macOS Catalina. So Azure Spring Cloud. What is it? Well, let's just take a little step on what we want to build. So we want to use Spring Boot. That's what most Java developers use today, and Java developers are like the biggest community today in the enterprise. With Spring Boot, you can build any kind of apps, including microservices. And with Spring Boot, there's also a nice project called Spring Cloud, which is made to coordinate microservices together. And so if you use both of them together, you've got a really nice stack to do microservices. However, this stack has a number of challenges. The first one is if you want to manage your microservices, well, you've got some effort just to run them, update them, scale them. You've got also an effort to have a few services running like circuit breaker, like service discovery, like configuration. And also, when you've got a microservice architecture, the third issue is troubleshooting, like logs management, but also distributed tracing. When you've got several microservices, you want to understand well where the issues are, and you need to trace everything. And those are common to, I would say, like any microservice stack. It's, of course, happening with Spring Boot. And, of course, you can run your Spring Boot applications yourself, but we think that there is a better way to do it. So with Azure Spring Cloud, we propose a solution to those three issues. So the first one is a fully managed architecture. So that means that, for example, service discovery or configuration servers are managed for you. So you don't run them. It's managed and supported by us. Your applications, you don't manage the JVM, the OS, that kind of thing. We manage that also for you, and we scale them for you, which is also an issue. And last but not least, monitoring. We set up monitoring for you, so you've got everything set up to understand the issues that your architecture might have. Let's have a closer look at those 3 points. So the first one on the architecture. So yeah, Azure Spring Cloud is a joint service. It's made by Pivotal and Microsoft. So Pivotal are the people behind Spring, of course, and Microsoft as the people behind Azure. So basically, everything that we show here is managed and supported by both companies. Well, sometimes it's only one company, sometimes it's both. It depends on, of course, the component. But what you can be sure of is that when you run something on Azure Spring Cloud, everything will be managed and supported for you by, I would say, the best company to do it. It's either Pivotal when it's Spring or Microsoft when it's infrastructure on Azure. So here we've got like a graph of, this is the big plan of Azure Spring Cloud. As you can see, we've got some modules here for a Spring Cloud middleware. So that includes a registry server, typically Eureka, a config server. You could have in the future a gateway. Here you've got your applications. Applications are managed also by Azure Spring Cloud. So they run on top of our architecture and we scale them. So behind the scenes, it's a Kubernetes, it's Azure Kubernetes service, but you don't see it, it's managed for you. So well, yesterday there were a lot of talks at Vox Days about Kubernetes. Here it's the same thing, but it's managed for you, so you don't see it. You have the benefits from Kubernetes without the trouble. And last but not least, we connect everything to a certain number of cloud services. So those are done by Azure. I will try to show them also in my demo. Azure has got a lot of work on Spring for the last 3 years. So we've got Spring Boot starters to help you connect to Azure services. So for example, if you want to use, I don't know, Active Directory for security, we've got a Spring Boot starter for that. So we've got lots of other services which are available for you. When you use Azure Spring Cloud, you've got access to our application lifecycle. So we can build your apps for you. So you can send us a pre-built jar file, for example, but we can also build it for you. We can, of course, deploy it for you. And when it's deployed, we're going to manage it for you. So that means we can scale it for you. I don't know, give you more instances, more RAM, more CPU, that kind of thing. And this is integrated. So either in our, so we've got a CI/CD pipeline which is set up for you, so you have like nothing to do. Or if you want more control, for example, you want to use GitHub Actions to deploy, it will also work, of course. And GitHub Actions is also made by Microsoft, so that's good. Once you've got everything set up, you will want to monitor your microservices. That's one of the biggest issues in microservices. Well, of course, you will have access to logs and metrics, but logs and metrics are good when you've got just a monolith. When you've got a microservice architecture, the issue is that you want to understand better how components work together, to have the latency, to troubleshoot the issues. And so we've got a full service for that, which is made by Azure, and we've connected Spring Boot to it. So it's very easy to monitor. I will do a demo on that. There's basically nothing to do from a developer point of view. You just deploy your app and it's monitored. But from an ops point of view, it's very useful because you have access to everything. I was pretty fast on that one. So my proposal is that we go through a demo. If this thing is okay to work with me, come on. So my computer, oh, sorry, so you see, okay, sorry, my screen is not mirrored anymore. Excuse me. Whoops. That's PowerPoint doing that. I don't know who does PowerPoint. So let's do a little demo, and let's have a look at Azure Spring Cloud. So this is the main screen of Azure Spring Cloud. So when you start up a cluster, this will look like this. So you've got a number of menu items and a number of actions that you can do. I will just show you quickly the main screens, and then we'll just code, and we will see how they work by coding, because I think that's the best way to understand what it does. By the way, here I'm going to show you an example which is from my training. So we've got a full training on Azure Spring Cloud, which is open source and which you can use. So if you want to train yourself on the Azure Spring Cloud, it's all available and free. And by the way, we'll do that training. We'll do 3 workshops on Thursday and Friday this week at Microsoft. So if you are interested, you can just contact me afterwards, and we can do the workshop together. We do it for half a day workshop to go through everything. Yeah, I'm doing a condensed version. So if you are interested, just come and see me afterwards, and we'll set up a full workshop for you. So let's have a look at those screens. So this is a welcome screen, of course. The first interesting screen is the app screen. So this is where you see all your microservices and gateways running. So, so first of all, you've got 2 types of applications on it. Of course, you've got normal microservices, and you've got gateways. So the gateway, its main difference is that it's got a public IP, it's connected to the internet, and it opens the routes to the microservices. So gateways are important, and it's another part of our architecture. So here I've got a gateway, and I've got 2 microservices. So it's a simple app. There's nothing, don't expect it to do some big business thing. It's just to show how it works. And our gateway is connected to 2 microservices. As you can see here, they are all running. We've got 1 instance. We're going to see how they can scale. And they've got a discovery status, and they are all down, which is not good. We'll see that later. It's supposed to work. So they're connected to Spring Cloud Discovery Server. So underneath, that's Eureka, but it could be something else. You don't see it. It's running for you. It's clustered. So in fact, you've got 2 instances. It's secured with SSL. It's managed. So it's going to be supported, upgraded for you. So it's really good, but you don't see it. It's just running for you. And there's a third interesting thing here is a configuration server. So if you use Spring Boot, you probably use a configuration server. Let's just have a look at this. So it's connected to a Git repository where I've got my configuration files. This Git repository can be, of course, secured. This one is not secured because it's for my training, so I want everybody to be able to see it. If I secure it, then you can't see the example, so it's not nice for an example. But of course, for production, you should secure that, because here I've got my Spring Boot configuration, so maybe I've got passwords here, or secured stuff. And so here I've got a Spring Cloud config server that is connected to it, so it's public, and just to show that we can secure it, you can secure it with a token or with SSH. And this config server is also secured, clustered. You know, you've got SSL, it's managed. It's exactly like the registry server. So this is another piece of the architecture that is totally managed and supported for you. So this is the kind of thing, the registry server, the config server, that you can run by yourself on your laptop if you want to. You can run in production if you want to. But here, it's run for you by both Pivotal and Microsoft. It's clustered, it's secured, it's supported, so it's probably a better deal for you to have everything done than running it by yourself. If you are in development mode on your laptop, maybe you would like to run them by yourself, but in production, it might be a better idea to have I would say, somebody else run it for you. Let's have a look at the apps. Oh, now it's up. I have no idea what happened to my cluster. Did you see that? So it was up before the show, I guess. I had a look at it before arriving. It was done a few minutes ago, now it's up again. So maybe we had a glitch in the cluster. I don't know. Interesting. First time I see this. So let's just have a look at this first service. If I go here, we can see we've got a number of interesting things. So first of all, we've got a first monitoring screen. We will see monitoring better later. We see that we've got 1 instance, and here we can scale that instance. So at the moment, I can scale it by giving it more CPU, more RAM, or more instances. I can go and run 20 instances if I want to. Behind the scenes, it's Kubernetes that is handling all this, but you don't see it. Here, you've got a graphical view. You just need to click, and it works. So 2 things here. So here we're using the graphical interface because it's better for me to show you. Of course, you can script everything. Everything I'm doing here, you can script it using the AZ command line. So it's AZ Spring Cloud, and then you've got So this is my keyboard, which is not good. App list, for example. I can see my apps. So this is basically going to show me what we have here. You know, I don't want to modify this. It's good. Sorry. This is going to show me this list. Interesting. Oh, sorry, I'm not on the right one. Okay, sorry. Because I have several clusters and I'm not on the right cluster. I'm just going to. So you will see how you configure it. So you can configure it here using the command line. And so you can have several clusters, of course, running. And this is my instance. And my instance is called, oh, sorry, I did a mistake. This is Spring Cloud, and this is Spring Cloud Training. Oh. So of course you can have several clusters running, and I wasn't on the right one. Let's have a look. So this is going to give me, so this is basically a JSON view showing me this page here. So the interesting thing is that you can script everything, you can automate everything, and as the output is JSON, it's quite easy to parse it and do more stuff with the output. So that's how usually I manage everything. I don't use the graphical view normally. So that was the first thing I wanted to say about the scalability. And the second thing, of course, the question I always have on this screen is, can I have auto-scaling? Because I don't want to manage the instances myself. You will get it later. It's a preview version for the moment. You will see that we have got lots of monitoring already available. And the idea, of course, is to link the monitoring to the auto-scalability features. On Azure, we've got auto-scalability for most services. And that's, of course, better for you. You don't manage instances. Azure manages them for you, of course. And that's, of course, a lot better for you, so you got nothing to do. Last but not least, because this is something that we're going to do straight away. So we're going to record the CT service. And what we're going to do is, it's already running. So what I would like to do is to do a blue-green deployment. So this is this screen just afterwards. As you can see here, I've already got blue-green deployment for the weather service. So what it means is that instead of just starting up my app and maybe replacing an existing app, I can do a deployment which is in a staging mode, so it's hidden, so I can work there without any issue. And once it's good, once it's done, I'm going to swap my production deployment with my staging deployment. So I got no downtime. So it's a better way to deploy than just deploying straight away. And that also means you've got no service downtime or startup cost. I mean, if your Spring Boot app takes 20 seconds to start up, it's not really important. You're starting it up in a staging deployment. When it's good, you swap with the production. So you don't have any issues with the startup time or failed deployment. You can test, in a staging environment. Oh, there is one nifty feature I need to show you, because it's the same thing as the staging deployment. Here you can see I've got a test endpoint with a token. What's interesting with that is when you do a microservice, it's going to be hidden behind your gateway. So it's hidden in your architecture. People from the outside world cannot access it directly. When you're doing blue-green deployment, it's the same thing for your staging environment. It's hidden, and that's really good. But then when you want to test it, it's not that good because it's hidden and nobody can access it. So what we provide, so you can disable it, of course, for security reasons, but what we provide by default is here you've got a secure endpoint with a token. So you can access it and test it without having it really available on the internet. So it's a good way to test microservices or staging environment without exposing your app. So here, just my microservice is not exposed here with a URL. And let me just show you the gateway. The gateway, of course, is exposed to the internet. So the gateway has got an external IP which is available, address. So let's code the CT service. So we have a better view of what how Azure Spring Cloud works. I'm going to take this one because in this training we've got two microservices. There is one which is very classical, using MySQL, using Spring Data GPA. So this is probably what most people use. This one is a bit more modern, so that's why I'd rather show it. But basically, for what we're doing here, it's going to be the same thing. What is interesting here is that I'm using Cosmos DB, and that will allow me to show you a little more of the features of Azure. So first of all, Cosmos DB, for those who don't know it, so it's a distributed, globally replicated database that is made by Microsoft. it has got a compatibility layer for MongoDB, Cassandra, Gremlin. So you can use, for example, if you like MongoDB, you can use the MongoDB API with it. But it's not MongoDB running behind it. That's just a compatibility layer. It is fully managed by you and geographically replicated. So here I got just one instance in Europe, but if I wanted another instance here, I can just click and say and save, and it's going to replicate my instance everywhere. So it's very easy to have a globally distributed database with high availability by just clicking. And for me, that's important because that's basically what I just marketed with Azure Spring Cloud. With Azure Spring Cloud, you've got everything managed, everything supported for you. That's good for your business apps, but if your database is not replicated, backed up, distributed, well, it's totally useless to have a nice microservices stack if it does not connect to a distributed and secure database. So you need both. So that's why I like Cosmos DB for this reason, and it's very easy to use. You can use it. And to be honest, I mostly use it with the MongoDB API because that's what most people are familiar with. And I'm just going to show you how to use it with the new Cosmos DB API for two reasons. The first one is that the new API, like all new APIs on Azure, is made using a Spring Reactor. So we've got a fully reactive stack, which is the same framework as the one used by Spring Reflux. So we are reactive from end to end using the same API. So I find it's really cool. And the other thing is that, so it's in preview mode, but I just wanted to tell you about it. So we are providing Spring Boot starters for most of the Azure API. So it's not available here yet, but I can just show you. So you know that when you are using an Azure service like this one, you can either code it by yourself or use the starter that we provide, so you've got nothing to do, which is better because I don't know for you, but I don't want to code all this by myself. I'd rather have somebody provide it out of the box for me. So let's code our service. So I'm going to do, so you can use start.gipster.tech, which is the best place to generate a very complete Spring stack. I'm the guy doing Gipster, so that's why I say it. But if you want to have a simple app, which is what we want to do now, you can use spring.io. So this will generate a very simple app, but it's good for a demo like here because we can have a look at everything very easily. So I'm going to put everything by default, but I'm going to add here. So we want Spring with Flux because we want to do reactive programming. We want to use the config server from Spring. So this will connect to our config server, which is here, the one from Azure Spring Cloud. So all I need to do is tell it I want a config server, and it will just work. It's the same thing for service discovery. I will just tell it I want Eureka, and it will just connect and work. And and I want distributed tracing, so we'll have Zipkin. So Zipkin will add distributed tracing capabilities to my app. So all I need to do is add Spring Boot starters. I don't configure anything. You will see I'm not going to do anything else. And it will all work in my app. And I think that's all I need. So I'm going to generate this. I'm going to open it up. It's here. I'm opening it with IntelliJ. So this is just a very simple Spring Boot app, and I'm going to add a few things on it. So let's have a look at the pom.xml. So at the moment it's pretty simple. Well, basically, start.spring.io added me those libraries to my POM, which is good. I need to add a couple of things. Did I forget anything? No, everything's good. I need to add Cosmos DB, so that's because I'm doing a. Oh, come on. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what they want. So, if you use start.spring.io and you want to use the current version of the Microsoft starters, you can just type it here. If I type Microsoft, we should see it. You see you've got Azure support, for example, for Active Directory, for everything. Here I'm using a preview version, as you can see. Here, oh no, it's not even written preview, but it's not released yet. I mean, it's being released. So I need to add it manually, but in the future you will have it automatically. And then I need to add one little configuration file to have Azure Spring Cloud working. So let me add it and explain what I'm doing. So here I'm just adding a specific starter for Azure Spring Cloud. It is required, at least for the moment, for a good reason. It's the one which gives you the SSL certificates to connect to Eureka and the config server automatically. So just for security. There are like 3 files in it, but you need them for having secure communication with the registry server and the configuration server. And that's all I need to do, and everything should work on Azure Spring Cloud. So I'm just going to code a little domain object and so on, just to show how it works with Cosmos DB. So first of all, so this is a city service, so it's going to give us a list of cities, and the cities are stored in Cosmos DB. So I'm just going to add a new class which is called city, and the city has got a name, and we're happy with that. Generating getters and setters, and I'm happy with the domain object. And in my then I'm going to add a controller class to get those domain objects from the database. So I'm going to call it city controller. And here I'm going to copy paste a little bit because there's a lot of things. So this is going to be a REST controller, so it's going to be but as we're using Spring Webflux, it will be a reactive REST controller. I'm going to inject those values. So let me explain you. So this is something, if you use the Spring Boot starter, that you will not need to do. It will automatically be set up for you. But I wanted to code it just to show you how it works. So what we have done here in my app, in City Service, there's a screen that I haven't shown yet, which is called Service Binding. When you got an app, basically you want to connect it to a database. Like, I would say that's pretty obvious stuff. So you can, of course, configure it manually with Spring Boot in your YAML file. You put, I don't know, URL, username, password. You can put it in a config server, like we have here with Azure Spring Cloud. That's probably more secure, and that's good. Or if you really don't want to do anything, here we've got a service binding service. So if I click here, this is going to allow me to configure automatically a database connection. So for the moment, we support Cosmos DB, Redis, MySQL. Of course, we will support more later. And so for example, if I use Cosmos DB, it's going to automatically scan my resources on Azure. So it will just configure everything for me. I'm not giving it my database name, so anything, it scans it. And so I'm going to use MongoDB. This is my database. Here is the security key. It's just doing everything for me. And once it's configured, so let me show you the one which is already configured. Basically, it's pretty simple. It's going to generate the correct Spring Boot configuration keys for accessing my database. So that's pretty standard Spring Boot stuff. So what I'm doing here is I'm just taking those keys to configure my Cosmos DB database. What is good here is that I don't do anything to configure my database. You see, I just click, it works, and I don't do anything. So let me just copy paste this and explain you what we are doing. Oh, so I'm also going to copy paste the import statements. It will be faster than to. So when this is when those values have been injected by Spring, I'm creating a new Cosmos DB container. Why isn't it working? Oh, enable auto import. This is creating, using the Cosmos DB v3 API, this is creating a Cosmos client which is fully reactive. And then when I do queries on that Cosmos DB instance, it returns me a flux of objects. So this is using the Spring Reactor API. I'm mapping this flux to my domain object, so to the city, and I'm returning it as a flux, which is what Spring Wave Flux Lite. So this is going to work automatically and be reactive from end to end. I'm going to add some stuff here. Just, you know, we're doing blue-green deployment. It's already running. So my idea is to have a new version. So I will add just, no, VoxDes, rock, whatever. And we will see when I deploy if that works. Yeah, I mean, if we have this text arriving. So I've done my app. Now, what I want to do is deploy it. There are several ways to do that. So I'm just going to do it here with, let's say, the most simple way and the easiest to explain in front of you. And then I will tell you the other ways to do it. So here I'm just doing a Maven package. And as you remember, I added a Maven profile for deploying to Azure. So I'm using the cloud profile, which is the one I created. So this thing is just going to do a jar file, and I'm going then to deploy the jar files. So we've got some other ways to do that. You can send your source code to Azure Spring Cloud, and Azure Spring Cloud will package it for you. You can also do that in CI/CD server that will package it for you. There are many ways. I'm just showing this one because everybody understands it when you're a Java developer. When it's packaged, then I want to deploy it. Once again, there are several ways to do it. You can use our CI/CD system to deploy it automatically. You can use, we've got a Maven plugin which can do it. So here, I would just have done just Maven and everything would have worked. But it's a bit magical, and then I don't show you any details, so it's too simple. Or I can use the AZ command line, so it was the one I was using before. You remember when I did AZ Spring Cloud something. So here, I've got the command line which I can use to create a new app. The app is already created. Or I can use it to do blue-green deployment. I'm just going to cheat to get the correct line for blue-green deployment because I'm lazy. So here it is. So I'm going to do Spring Cloud app deployment create. So name green, that will be the name of my staging environment. That's the name of the app. So my app is called Pseudoservice, in fact. And after that, you're going to give it the jar because we generated it with Maven, so the jar is available here. So I'm just typing, and the jar is here. So the jar is just a simple executable jar file made by Spring Boot. What is interesting, well, what's going to happen when I upload it is that Azure will take a container, a layer with an OS, with a JVM. So it's the one from Azure system, so we have an agreement with them. So it's a fully supported JVM. It's not, like open source, OpenJDK, which is really good, but which is not supported. Here we have got a supported JDK. And this will run it on our Kubernetes cluster without us knowing anything about Docker, Kubernetes, or anything. So let me just click here. This will take some time to upload, so that depends on the network. We all pray that the network is good. It will do the packaging, and it will deploy it. And same thing as we saw before, it will output some JSON document explaining everything that happens. So you can, if you want to script everything, which is what I do, that's why I don't know the commands, I always script that. But then you can take the output and show some nice screen saying, oh, it deployed successfully, here is the name of my app, and so on, which is what I usually do. Here I'm just showing you the little details so you can better understand how it works. As it can take some time, let me show you the final app, and then we will do blue-green deployment and see what has happened. So our final app is here. So there's nothing really important on it. So here I've got a little Vue.js app, which is eating my gateway, which is here. So this is for the training. So if you want to do your own gateway, you can just change here and test your gateway. It's going to eat the city service, which gives you the cities here. And then it will eat the weather service, which gives you the weather for that city. And it's always very cloudy because we're in the cloud, of course. That's just the only joke. But what's interesting with that little app is that it's easy to understand, and you've got two microservices, one with Cosmos DB, one with MySQL, and you've got a gateway, with everything running. So that's interesting. So you remember I added voxdes some here in the city name, so it should work here. And I'm not sure if we will get some weather because we changed the city name. We'll see. Let's have a look when it's deployed at our monitoring. There are three things that are interesting here. So the first one, because we're going to deploy, so if it fails, it's interesting to have a look at this. We've got, of course, logs of everything. So if let me delete this just to show you it works. I've got like a little like SQL-like syntax to query my logs with auto-completion. So, and by default is the name of the app and so on. So here I want to have the logs from city service. I can, and for the last, I don't know, 30 minutes. So if anything fails, I can probably find it easily here. And I don't like this because I see some issues. We'll see. So that's the first thing. Second thing, here we've got metrics. And so you've got detailed information on your running applications. So the easiest one is to see the memory used. Of course, you've got more things than just the memory. We export, of course, all the OS, JVM metrics, but also the one from Micrometer, so from your Spring Boot application, so you can monitor everything. And this is what you should use when you want to scale your app. And the most important thing, so logs and metrics are very important, but everybody expects to have this in the cloud. So the most interesting thing for me is the distributed tracing. So because I added Zipkin to my Spring Boot application, it's going to be automatically instrumented, and it will generate a nice graph of my. I don't have this. I will take more data because it didn't run this morning probably. So we'll see that our gateway is calling the weather service and the city service. I'm taking the last 30 days, so I got more data. And we can see I did some tests with CT2 sometime during the month. This generates the graphs automatically, which is pretty cool. So you have a better view of your running app. But also, what's good is that, for example, here you see it's taking 36 milliseconds. This one is slower, so maybe there's an issue here. Well, you can drill down, and you can investigate performance. It's going to give you graphs and details of everything that happened, so you can better understand what is slow and why. And so either you fix your code or you scale up your apps depending on your needs. So this is a very useful tool for scaling and monitoring microservices. This is probably the most important one. Let's have a look at my deployment. So it says it worked. We saw in the logs that maybe there was an issue, but we'll see. And so if I come just, let me show you in the apps screen. So you got city service here, which is currently running. So that's the old version. And if I go to deployment here, I can see there's a green deployment which is ready, which is not the one I'm currently using. And I'm going to switch them. So you can either switch them graphically here, or you can use the command line. Well, this time I'll do this one because it's easier, but with the command line, you just do az spring include set deployment. It's shifting. And everything we do can be either done with the command line or with the graphical interface, depending on your preferences. And they're just going to swap them. So when you swap them, it works like automatically. So when you're using gateways, that kind of things like automatic. With a microservice, it might take a few seconds because there's the time for Eureka to replicate. But what's important to know is that you should not have any downtime. It's either you've got the old service or the new one, but there is no downtime between them, which is what you want, in fact. And now, if we come back here, so hopefully, instead of having Paris and London, we will have Paris Voxdes and London Voxdes. Ooh. If it's if it worked. I love those demo effects. Just having a look at the console. It has been blocked by a course through policy. Normally, I removed all course policies. Let me try it with the command line. You know, a course is where when your web apps want to load something which is from another URL, but I have removed them, so that's pretty strange. Not working. Well, let's have a look at the logs. That's the thing I just did earlier. I saw there was an error. You remember when we saw the log, so maybe that's not good. Maybe I did a mistake. So I'm exporting the logs. So there are many ways to have a look at the logs, but honestly, the easiest for me is just to export with a CSV everything and have a look with Excel or numbers, yeah. So what happened? I got some Eureka error. So, okay, as we got 3 minutes left, I'm not sure we can fix that. I don't know what I did because there's like, this looks like a Eureka error, which is not normal. Let me, I know it's not good, but you know what we say in France when you interrupt reboot? I don't believe it will do anything, but well, let's try it. Oh, you're right. Yes. Oh, sorry. I know what happened. Well, I know. I think you got a great idea. Yes. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. So yes. Okay. So Spring Boot 2.2.0 was released, I think, a couple of days ago, and I haven't tested it. And as here, I generated with the latest version without paying attention. I used the latest version of Spring Boot, and so probably there's an incompatibility here, and I shouldn't have done it. I should have clicked on 2.1.8. Oh, yes. Oh, thank you. So Alexandre Navarro is our best help here. Yes. So they released a new version of Spring Boot, so 2.2.0, a couple of days ago. So they put it by default. I didn't pay attention to that, so that's my fault. And with the latest version of Spring Boot, they didn't release Spring Cloud. So there is no Spring Cloud version for that version of Spring Boot. Yes, well, it was read here. No, for Azure, but yeah. For Spring Cloud as well, there was oh, okay, well, I should have clicked on this to have the older 2.1.8 version. Well, maybe we got 1 minute. Hang on. Maybe you can downgrade very quickly. Because it's only, where is it? 2.2. If I put 2.1.8, might work. Let's do it very quickly because I got everything here.
You have to change cloud version.
I have to change cloud version?
Yeah, green H.
Yeah. No? Not sure.
Yeah, you have the cloud version.
Milestone. No, everything comes from. No, Spring Cloud version. You're right. It's Oxton. Greenwich, but which Greenwich? Yeah, something like that. Oh, how do you call it? Greenwich? Green. No, is it good or not? Yeah. Google is our friend. Greenwich. You know, there are metro stations in London. A nice joke from the Spring team, but for us it's not that fun. So we're building it. I'm deploying it then I need, so I'm deleting it. I'm deleting the default app. You know, this is the one which is in staging now. And I will deploy again to default. Well, I will call it blue. I find it nicer. And we're running time. And then I will switch back from green to blue. As time is running out, I'm not sure we can do it, but you can. I hope you believe me that it would work if we did it. And that was a bad pun from the Spring team who updated Spring Initializer as soon as it was available without having a look at Spring Cloud. Anyway, if you are interested by this, and by the way, I will need to upgrade my training. So we do the full training at the Microsoft office on Thursday and Friday. So just come and see me, or there is my colleague Sean Lee who's here. So you can also ask him, and we just register you, and we'll do this together from end to end. And we will use the correct Spring Boot version, so it will work. So thanks a lot. And is it already? Hang on. Is it already done? Yeah. Oh. Hey. They're not going to kick me off the stage, so. Sorry. It's here. So green is by default. Blue is in staging. Let's switch from green to blue. And hopefully that will work. So it takes some time for Eureka to replicate, so I hope it will be good. It's going to take some time. Yeah, time's out or not? Yes. What you can do is, so the URL is springtraining.azureedge.net. I will leave it running, so we can test afterwards, and we'll see if it works. Okay, well, thanks a lot. And if you want to discuss this, just come and talk to us. Thank you.